Question 2 is testing your knowledge of hydrated salts, and then there's a little bit about chlorine at the end of the question. So, first part of the question, state the formulae of the two main ions present in aluminium sulfate. So you can see I've written up there for my students, you need to know your ions. You must go into that exam knowing these off by heart. So it's Al3 plus and SO4 2 minus. Write an equation for the reaction of aluminium oxide with sulfuric acid. And again, hopefully you can make that out. Acid plus metal oxide makes salt and water. So that's your starting point. So sulfuric acid and aluminium oxide is going to make aluminium sulfate, and you were given that formula, and water, and it balances like I've shown there. State symbols. All acids are aqueous. Aluminium oxide is solid. Aluminium sulfate would be an aqueous solution, and water is obviously a liquid. The dot XH2O represents water of crystallization. And then the calculation starts. So I've set this out a bit like an empirical formula calculation. We'll just talk through that now. The student heats 12.606 grams of the hydrated salt to constant mass. The anhydrous aluminium sulfate, so that's this bit here without the water, has a mass of 6.846 grams. And if we know the starting mass and we know how much of the anhydrous was formed, the difference is obviously the water that was driven out, and so we've got 5.76 grams of water. Because we know the formulae for the two parts, we can work out the moles present. So I've divided the mass of anhydrous by the mass of the Al2SO4 3 times, and I've done the same with water. And so we get mole ratio of 0.02 to 0.32, which when you divide both by the smallest is a 1 to 16 relationship, and so therefore X, quite large this one, sometimes you get 5s or 7s, and you get an X at 16. And then the bit about chlorine, I said at the end, the student tests chlorine gas with damp blue litmus paper. The litmus paper first turns red and then is bleached. A reaction takes place between chlorine and water in the damp litmus paper. So write an equation for the reaction between chlorine and water. So I sort of tell my students Cl2 plus H2O gives HCl and HClO. And then if you can sort of remember that little rhyme, you sort of, hopefully you'll remember it in the exam. Why does the damp litmus paper turn red? And that's because one of these products, HCl, is an acid. This is actually an acid as well. It's called chloric 1 acid, but we've produced an acid. Bleach is made by reacting chlorine with cold dilute aqueous sodium hydroxide. There's the equation. The ion responsible for the bleaching is this ClO minus ion, which is called the chlorate 1 ion.